All rise. The Honourable Judge Anderson is presiding. Please be seated.
The bailiff's voice boomed through the courtroom, demanding respect and attention. Everyone settled, the air thick with anticipation.
Today we are here to hear the case of the People versus Alex Johnson.
Judge Anderson, known for her sharp wit and even sharper tongue, surveyed the room with an authoritative gaze. Her eyes, honed from years on the bench, missed nothing. This was her domain, and justice would be served.
Mr. Johnson is accused of stealing food from Green Market on July 24th.
Judge Anderson nodded, her face an impassive mask.
Let's proceed.
Your Honor, Mr. Johnson stands accused of a blatant act of theft. On the aforementioned date, he entered Green Market, seemingly like any other customer.
He paused, letting the image sink in before delivering the blow.
However, instead of paying for his groceries like a law-abiding citizen, he decided to take the law into his own hands.
The prosecutor continued, his voice hardening.
Mr. Johnson made off with a basket full of essential food items, depriving the store of its rightful earnings and violating the trust placed in every shopper.
The accusation hung in the air, heavy with implication. Judge Anderson listened intently, her expression unreadable. She had heard it all before, yet each case was unique, each defendant a story waiting to unfold.
We call Mr. James, the store manager, to the stand.
A middle-aged man in a neat suit nervously made his way to the witness stand, his face etched with concern. He swore an oath to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Mr. James, can you please describe what you witnessed on July 24th at your store, Green Market?
Yes, sir. I was working that day monitoring the security cameras when I noticed Mr. Johnson acting suspiciously. He kept looking around as if to see if anyone was watching him.
He took a deep breath, gathering his courage.
Then I saw him, Mr. Johnson. He just walked out of the store with a full basket of groceries. He didn't even attempt to pay. I ran after him, but he was already gone.
The courtroom buzzed with whispers as the weight of Mr. James's testimony sunk in. Judge Anderson, however, remained composed. She'd seen enough to know that eyewitness accounts could be unreliable. Hard evidence was needed.
The prosecution would like to present footage from the store's security cameras on July 24th as evidence, the prosecutor announced, his voice confident.
The lights dimmed, and the courtroom fell silent. On a large screen, grainy images flickered to life. There, in black and white, was Mr. Johnson. He was clearly visible, picking out various food items, fruits, vegetables, bread, and placing them in his basket. The footage then showed him walking past the cash registers, completely bypassing the checkout lines and exiting the store with the stolen goods. The evidence was damning, irrefutable. Judge Anderson watched the footage intently, her gaze unwavering. The silence in the courtroom was palpable. When the footage ended, the lights came back on, and everyone turned to look at Mr. Johnson. He sat slumped in his chair, his head bowed, the weight of his actions crushing him. The defiance he might have felt before had evaporated, replaced by shame and remorse. He knew he had been caught, his guilt evident for all to see. Judge Anderson, her voice stern yet compassionate, addressed him directly.
Mr. Johnson, do you have anything to say in your defense?
He hesitated, then slowly rose to his feet, his gaze fixed on the floor.
I did it, he stammered, his voice barely a whisper. I took the food. I didn't have any money and I was hungry.
Mr. Johnson, Judge Anderson began, her voice firm but fair. While I understand that circumstances can lead people to make desperate choices, stealing is never the answer. Her eyes held his, conveying the seriousness of his actions.
This court cannot condone such behavior. Mr. Johnson, this is not a good thing to do. I am going to put you under arrest for 5 days.
The gavel slammed down, echoing through the silent courtroom. The sound, sharp and final, marked the end of the trial. Justice, swift and decisive, had been served. Mr. Johnson, his head hung low, mumbled an apology.
Okay, I apologize for stealing. I will not do it ever again.
He was led away by the bailiff, his steps heavy with regret.